You were listening to episode 217 of Game Deflators Podcast. My name's John, and I'm joined by Ryan.
Hey, everybody, here at the Game Deflators Podcast, we like to talk about games we've recently picked up, games we're currently playing, and our friends are jumping off a cliff, and so are we in this week's Inflation Deflation Challenge.
So this week we played a little bit of Lemmings 3D on the PlayStation
Emphasis
1.
on a little bit.
And emphasis on jumping off a cliff, because I just about wanted to do that after that user interface. So yeah, dude, I had never really played that game in the past.
Have you played any Lemmings?
No, not really.
Me either. I've seen people cover Lemmings kind of person. Like LGR talks about Lemmings at Christmas time sometimes and stuff like that, but never played it myself. I didn't get the appeal then, and now that I've experienced it in 3D, I still don't get the appeal.
Yeah, I definitely didn't either. So we'll talk more about it in the inflation deflation segment. But first, you can find us on the GameDeflators.com, our out-of-date website. You can find us on YouTube at the Game Deflators, Facebook and Instagram at the Game Deflators, and Twitter at Game Deflators. And of course, the podcast app you're listening to right now, as well as any other podcast apps out there. Catch us on there and leave us a 5-star review.
Yes,
that's smoother than most times. Very surprising since I have a cold.
You're doing great, John. So why don't you kick us off with what you picked up and played?
The question is, what did I not pick up this week? That's the real question. Several things. I picked up a number of DS, Wii games, and PS2 games earlier in the week. So some of those were like Wario Master of Disguise. I picked up a couple Mario games on the Wii, so I got Galaxy and a New Super Mario Bros. Wii, a Hello Kitty game actually on the DS, which is kind of interesting, and one on the Wii as well. Not that I'm going to play them, but they were cheap, and Hello Kitty games for whatever reason tend to go up.
Where'd you get this stuff?
Goodwill.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So picked up a bunch of stuff there. Picked up a PlayStation 2 without anything and tested that, and the PlayStation 2 was messed up. It didn't work. So I went ahead and actually, instead of like bothering to sell it for parts on eBay, because like, could I make like $10? Sure. I went ahead and like took it back to Goodwill along with a few other games I had that just were so scratched beyond belief that they don't work, and I'd bought them from Goodwill prior. So returned all of those and then went back yesterday, and they happen to have more games that they had just put out. So I got Mario Party 8, Mario Sonic London Olympics. I got like Need for Speed Carbon, Alice, Madness Returns, and a number of other games as well. Some 360 games. I picked up Guitar Hero, Legends of Rock on the Wii as well, which is like $25, interestingly enough. So yeah, I got quite a bit of games this week, and
nice.
So I started messing with those. Getting them ready to like sell and whatnot, any extras, and then keeping the ones that I don't have. I picked up a new bed actually, so it's kind of random, but I got a new mattress. So I'll just throw that out there.
Count it.
Yeah. I mean, games can be played in there too. What else did I get? I had my 6800 GPU that I installed and got that all set up, and then got you saw the pictures. I got a monitor holder, dual holder for my monitors. So now they are no longer sitting on my desk, which has freed up a ton of space. So I can put an extended mouse on my desk, which is a mouse pad, not extended mouse, which is going to be nice. And a new fan for my PC. So finally going full red on that. That'll be nice. And then also I picked up, not picked up technically. So one of my monitors had like a dead pixel or stuck pixel or something in it, and I just couldn't get it situated. So I contacted the company that I bought it from and was just like, hey, there's a dead pixel or stuck pixel. I've tried all of the general methods to get, fix that situation. Nothing's working. What do I do? And they're like, oh, just here's your address, right? Okay, we'll go ahead and send you a replacement if you could send us a picture of the dead pixel. I was like, okay. So I sent a picture of dead pixel, and they sent me a replacement with no questions to return the other monitor. So the other monitor, I mean, it sucks for gaming purposes if you're playing like a game that's like completely dark, because you see that one white pixel or whatever dead center in the middle of the game. But if I'm just using it for like browsing on the internet, not too bad. So what I'm going to end up
Yeah.
doing is taking that monitor and putting it above my other two. So I'll have 3 monitors on this computer. One I can use for like, streaming something while I game on the side or browse the internet, whatever it may be. And now I have 3 monitors. So that'll be nice. And then also I picked up Factorio on the PC this week. Have you ever heard of that one?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've been playing a lot of Factorio as of late. So I guess going into my currently playing.
What brought you to there?
Justin and my brother are playing it. So they're just like, oh, you should play with us. Like, you'll like it. And they kind of sold me on it when they're like, it's SimCity meets StarCraft. And I like both of those. So it's like a simulation game where I build a factory and aliens are coming and I got to kill aliens. That totally works for me. So ended up buying that. I'm enjoying it. I think I put in like maybe 12, 13 hours at night with them. Just kind of playing. And then I started playing Cardia World of Fate, my new games resolution game, which is interesting. I'm on like chapter 4 on that game, and a difficulty spike went from 0 to 100 really quick. It's a little crazy, trying to learn basically like the Cardia stuff, which is your magic, and you can summon phantoms to help you. But like the battle I'm in right now, I'm facing like 20 phantoms, and I have 6 and 4 party members or 3 party members. Like, it's super hard, and I'm just trying to figure out like, how do I create equipment? How do I create like armor for these phantoms? They're
I
all
still
like
don't
level
know
1.
anything about that game. I
It's
meant to look it
hard.
up and see if I could find like a review or something of it last week.
It's got decent reviews, but it's not like a normal RPG. Like, how it's kind of like Tactics, actually. So you don't have like this open world aspect where you can, traverse different areas and you go into battle and you're in like this, battle that's tactical based. It's purely story and in battle. Like, that's it. You go from like, oh, it's chapter 4. And you have this story that you're integrated into, and your characters are talking and things are happening. And then it goes to the next area and your characters are talking. And then it's like battle time. You battle, chapter ends, you go on to your next part of story, and so on, is what I've experienced. There's no like open world anything, no shops, no nothing. You get your items after battle. You can find items within battle. Like, that's about it. Honestly, I might have to look up like a walkthrough just to kind of make sure I didn't miss anything like from the beginning, because I feel like my characters are a little too weak right now, and like I haven't done enough to kind of help them out. So my worry is that I'm already in like chapter 4 and my characters are so bad that I'm not gonna be able to progress. Because I did mess with a battle last night. Now, while I did give some of my my phantoms like armor and weapons, like new stuff, and crafted it, they were still getting demolished. I'm like, I don't know what else to do here. So we'll see what happens with this later tonight. So I'll end up playing that later tonight after D&D.
Oh, best of luck.
Yeah. And then prep wise, I think I mentioned it last week, but I've prepped session 0, and I'm in the middle of prepping session 1 for our Strixhaven campaign. I've been painting a lot of minis as of late. My brother and I painted a number of minis while he was in town, which is a lot of fun to kind of just sit back and paint with him. So I think I banged out like
painting skills are getting pretty good.
Yeah, they're actually not too bad. So I painted a few gnolls, painted a minotaur, some bandits at night. I painted a mimic, which is pretty cool. Dude, the mimic looks badass. So whenever you come over next time and you see that mimic, it's like top-notch quality.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's what we did. Cool stuff. So how about you?
Oh man, so I picked up Gears of War 1 and subsequently 2 on Game Pass because I beat Gears of War 1. So
nice.
Yeah, start to finish that in like 2.5 play sessions. I mostly beat it yesterday while I was hanging out. Man, did I have kind of a hard time with the final boss until I kind of looked up what I needed to do, and I was like, okay. But it still took me like a dozen tries. I kind of wish that I had been able to play through on multiplayer, because they are fun multiplayer games. But I just didn't know where I was going to get like, 12, 15 hours to play a game co-op with somebody in a reasonable amount of time, So whatever. We also beat Telling Lies, and by we, I mean my wife, because I was mostly snoozing.
Was it any good?
I mean, it's not that they're bad. Like, they're definitely interesting. I just, not for me, I guess. And also, like, if I'm laying on the couch and it's getting close to sleepy time, like, that's not a game that's really going to capture and engage me. So, kind of 2 games down already into the beginning of the year. Not too bad. Not too bad. I did start on Gears of War 2, and I can't remember if I ever actually played it before. I'm guessing that I might have, but I'm seeing some achievement pop, and I think that, like, if I had played it before, those achievements would have popped back on my original 360 and still been a part of my profile. So I don't know if I've played Gears of War 2, but I'm enjoying it so far. Seeing the upgrade from Gears of War 1, it looks a lot better, but it handles so much the same. I kind of got inspired to go back through these by watching Noah Caldwell Gervais' video on the whole series again. And yeah, I don't know if I'm going to make it through like all of them or even all the way through this one, but it's what I've been playing for now. I'll have to pick up Pikmin from you to borrow, because I assume you got Pikmin.
Yeah, I do. You'll need to bring back my Beyond Two Souls, so that's your ticket.
I can bring back that and Street Fighter.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if I should I bum a GameCube from you, or I mean, I have 2 Wiis.
It's up to you, however you want to play it. I mean, I've got like 5 GameCubes, so it's not
Do you
going to
need
be
one
like
that needs to be tested?
no, they're all working, but I mean, you can play it on the Wii. I mean, the Wii works just as fine. You just have to have a Wii controller to be able to get to the GameCube menu.
Yeah, I need a GameCube controller to play though.
Okay, I have like 30.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Done
They
deal.
actually they're by my Goodwill too. They have like some Mad Catz versions for like $3.
Oh, nice. I
Yeah,
used to like the little mini Mad Catz
yeah,
GameCube
they have one
wireless
for us.
controller.
Yeah, they've got one at my local Goodwill here.
Nice.
So if you're interested, I can pick one up for you. Like they've been there for 3 or 4 days. Like that's something that not everybody's just clamoring to go pick up a Mad Catz GameCube controller.
Yeah, for sure.
So okay, I'll check that out when I go there next time. Probably tomorrow.
Yeah, if you're there, send me a picture of it.
Okay, I mean I know what you're talking about because I like that one too. Out of all the GameCube controllers that are third party, that little mini Mad Catz is probably my favorite. So I will check when I'm there tomorrow because usually they bring stuff out on Mondays. I will see.
I don't think I still have mine. I'll have to look. Remind me after the podcast.
Regardless, I'll grab you one if they have it.
Cool.
And let's see. I don't think we noted out a discussion topic this week.
You know, I thought you sent me a text about something, and then I didn't see it, but I have a good discussion topic.
Okay, and then we can do my weekly One Piece discussion.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Well, no, we can't. You're ahead of me now.
Oh, how far ahead of you am I?
I haven't made any progress.
Since what? Like when did you stop though?
When they were working on making the second cake for Big Mom.
Okay, so we could talk up to that point really quick.
Mm-hmm.
So as they start making the big cake, I like. Did you ever get the katakuri? No. Okay, damn. Okay, well either way, best fight ever. Like I think it beats the Doflamingo fight hands down.
Yeah.
Like it was phenomenal. Although the Doflamingo fight's very good. So as far as it's concerned, since now you got to catch up. Damn it. I finished.
You're exactly where Zach has been, and I haven't gotten any closer because he's been asking me either. So don't expect much progress from me.
So I finished Whole Cake Island, obviously, and it was awesome. I hate Big Mom. I just don't like that character. She's definitely evil, and the laugh just kind of gets me. And the whole concept of like she ate those,
everyone.
No. Yeah, she ate everyone. Yeah, that's right. You got past that. So that thing kind of is just stupid in my opinion, but the whole like cake situation, like where she's going on a rampage looking for another cake and it's her hunger pangs or anything else like that just drives me insane. At least she only has that like mama laugh versus a shoo-doo-doo-doo laugh, which drives me crazy. So that was a little better. At least the creators kind of had me in mind when they thought about this and future John and watching this anime and saying, he probably isn't going to like too crazy of a laugh. So let's go this direction instead.
Oda cares.
Yeah. So Let's see. Right now, after Whole Cake Island, the thing I'm not liking is that it's a bunch of filler. Like the whole Reverie thing so far. This isn't spoiling anything for you, by the way. It's like the first 4 episodes, 5 episodes I've watched. Instead of going to Japanese right away, they've had Voyage 1 and 2 already dubbed, but they're not on Funimation. So I found a website that I can watch the English dub and not have to worry about it up to like 9:14. So I'm on like episode 884, and it's just been like, oh, Vivi and her island, and here's where, Luffy helped out Vivi and the Kingdom of Alabasta, and it's just like filler, like just a recap episode. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, that's something that just drives me insane. Like, just why do we have to have like 4 or 5 episodes of going through each kingdom that Luffy has helped and having all these characters say, "Oh, hi, you're a friend of Luffy. Here's how he helped me." And then 30 minutes of just like Alabasta and recap, which by the way has been recapped 3 times since that happened. So like I don't need a fourth recap. Like at that point, just don't do the anime for that. Or like it's not in a manga. Like why create a filler episode? Like I would rather have a random filler episode of just some weird arc that happens than having recap episodes. They drive
Another
me
clip
insane.
show.
I just hate the clip shows so much. Or like having to see Shanks and Luffy's first interaction of Luffy eating the devil fruit and him going against those like pirate bandits years ago and Shanks losing his arm. I know how Shanks lost his arm. You've showed me 5 times. I know how Luffy ate his devil fruit because you showed me 5 times. Like I don't need more clip episodes to continue going through.
Clip episodes are cheap though.
Oh my god. Yeah, I bet they're cheap. And it's just nuts. Like I just don't understand like why have those in there.
Yeah.
It just kind of, I don't know. It just kind of sucks every time that they do that. Like luckily I'm not on a week to week basis where I'm having to like, oh cool, a new episode of One Piece. I'm like, oh, it's a clip episode. Like I will be
not
at
yet.
that point.
You'll be
Not
there
yet.
though.
I will be, yeah. I am going to start watching the Japanese voice acting here in a bit just to kind of keep going. Because I've noticed that they only release like once a month, like 14 episodes. And I'm on the path of, once a month, 150 episodes. So that's just not going to work for me. So
I mean, you'll be able to watch the movies, I guess.
I mean, they're not really like canon per se. They're just kind of fun movies to watch. I guess I could.
More One Piece is more One Piece.
I guess. That and I may just start reading the manga, to be honest.
Yeah, the manga's great.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of extra different stuff in the manga. Like in the back, he has like the SBS where he like answers fan questions and just it's funny. You dig some of that stuff.
Yeah, they're anticipating it's going to be done between like 2024 and early 2025, I think. So be pretty cool to kind of keep up with that. And then I started watching Brace Yourself and Don't Fall Over, but I started watching Dragon Ball GT just to get past it. I know it's not really canon and it sucks, but it's whatever. And then having to hear Eric Vale as Trunks and just having watched as many episodes of One Piece and him playing Sanji is just driving me insane. I'm like, I cannot do this. Like just listening to his voice, like nothing against Eric Vale. Like I love Eric Vale and I've met him and everything else. And we've, I had him at my con years ago. But going through as many episodes of One Piece and hearing him as Sanji and now all of a sudden hearing him as Trunks, I'm like, oh my God, like I just don't, it's just so weird to sit back and watch back to back like key characters in an anime.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I've tried watching GT a couple times. I've got the DVD set here. My brother-in-law got it for me years ago for Christmas. And, as much as people are against it, I feel like it kind of feels very like early DBZ, like Dragon Ball, kind of like it's got some of that in there. But then, I mean, it does just kind of like lose me at some point. It definitely isn't like, I don't know. People have already beat the hell out of GT. I don't need to add to that pile.
Look, when one of your battles is literally like 3 Richard Simmons aliens making them dance like crazy, that's kind of where I was like, yeah, this is just not even worth watching, but I'm going to watch it anyways because, it kind of keeps me away from One Piece for a little bit. And then Vegeta with a mustache is absolutely stupid. But I did find it funny when they're like, oh, we have your boy Goku and everything. He's like, Goku, do what you want with him. And I'm like, that's totally a Vegeta thing that he would do. But yeah, it's just interesting. Like I love Dragon Ball, so that's where I'm kind of okay with Kid Goku. Um, but other than that, like I'm just not really a big fan. Like they go up against this alien that makes earthquakes with his whiskers, and it turns out he just predicts them. And they clip his whiskers, and he gets drunk, and he wants to like bang girls in the village type of thing. Like it's just the weirdest thing. Like it's super odd anime so far, and you could totally tell it was like a filler in between like key anime series right now.
Yeah.
So yeah. Okay, what was your topic?
So discussion topic with the like amount of time that's going into games now and the expectation of, future titles. Like if we're expecting to get Starfield this year, and then we'll be getting Elder Scrolls maybe like 2026 or so, maybe 2027, and then the next Fallout, wait, that's going to be like what, 2032? And then we'll get Starfield, in like
2042.
2045. Like I don't know, but the expectation and the amount of time that's going into producing these games now, like, do you think that these bigger studios that have these really long working processes should like be working with other studios, be getting out those licenses so that we can get more content? Like, are we gonna just live on Fallout 76 for the next X amount of years? Or, should Bethesda license out companies to remake Fallout 1 and 2 and get those out there? I
You
mean,
know,
these are just with Armored Core coming in now, like From Software, they're kind of a different beast. Like, I can't believe the amount of titles that they've put out when you go back and look at kind of the track record. But like, people have been dying for another Bloodborne. There's already been a couple games now between like Sekiro. Like, are we going to be able to see more in some of these big titles? Or, are we going to wait decades or longer to get any kind of sequels on some of these kind of games?
so I think we're going to be waiting years to get some sequels in a lot of those games because of the time that it takes to develop them. But what I'm okay with is there's so many other developers out there creating similar games. So when you look at the Souls series, for example, yeah, you had Bloodborne, right? But then you've got like Code Vein came out at some point, which is like anime Dark Souls. And then you've got like
Lies of P coming out next year.
Lies of P that's coming out. Games like that. Neo, another one, right? Like just different companies creating like similar games that you can enjoy that like Souls-esque. While it's not the same caliber, it's a Souls-like game, and you can still kind of run through those and enjoy them. And that kind of helps break up the time between releases. Like, do we want a Bloodborne 2? Yes. Have we wanted a Demon Souls 2 for years? Yes. Problem is Sony has both those IPs under wraps, and unless From Software or Sony is willing to multi-platform those specific IPs, they likely may never happen, to be honest, in my opinion. So I'm okay waiting like in between things like that. And there's so many other games to play. Like if I were to, I still haven't played Fallout 4, for example. And I have the Game of the Year edition. I just haven't played it. So when I do get to playing it, do I want to have Fallout 5 right on its heels? No. Do I
Well,
want to have?
you're like a casual with
Yeah,
most franchises. Like, there's not a lot of franchises that have you going out day one. But I mean, if you're a
like
Fallout
Sekiro.
fan and you
Sekino's
felt underserved by Fallout 4 and Fallout 76 really wasn't that great, you're waiting from basically like New Vegas until Fallout 5 to get your next fix.
Yeah, I get that. But there are other games that have come out. So you had Fallout New Vegas, you had Fallout 4, you had Fallout 76. Like you had several titles that have come out.
Yeah, but
But
that's what I'm saying. Most of those weren't great.
okay, but yeah, I know. But like Sekiro, okay, I love Sekiro. Sekiro is my favorite out of all the Soulsborne games. Do I want another Sekiro? Absolutely. Can I wait? Sure, because there's other games I want to play. I'm not just a one genre of game and done type of situation. Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, cool, a new platformer's come out. I want to play that. Oh, another RPG came out. I want to play that. So there's lots of games that should be able to tide you in between. And if you're like, expecting it to be like Madden or Assassin's Creed, where every year you're getting a new release, it's just honestly, there's a difference between AAA titles like God of War and I would even say Starfield or Elder Scrolls than there is of like Assassin's Creed and Maddens and FIFAs and
Mm-hmm.
Star Wars Battlefronts that seem to come out every few years as well. So I think there's just something that gamers need to have this expectation that if you're going to be playing a quality series like that or Last of Us or a Final Fantasy, you're going to have to expect some time in between the creation of said games to get you that high quality game. And honestly, the wait is worth the while when it's all said and done, oftentimes. But like you said, in the case of like Fallout 4 and Fallout 76, where they're not the best, they're still decent enough to play. They're still decent enough to tide you over until that next, introduction into the game into like Fallout 5.
So
Um,
Last of Us, they are doing a HBO show.
yeah.
So Fallout is also going to be doing an HBO show.
Hasn't that
So
already been
like,
done with like every zombie apocalypse thing ever?
but like, putting out your content in other ways like that is a good way to hold over or, give some people some other insight into the game world. Um, I think I'd like to see these studios like take their IP and see what else can be done with it. Like, yeah, Bethesda, you can make Fallout, 5. Nobody's saying that you're not the studio who should make Fallout 5, but like definitely give, somebody like Obsidian a chance to make, a Fallout New Mexico or something.
Right.
Something that's different than New Vegas or something different like New Vegas, you know, or
I'm
I don't
just
know,
seeing Fallout New Mexico and like meth heads running around everywhere. Like,
right?
that's
Well,
all
I
it
mean,
is.
that's not much different than any other Fallout place.
I guess the ghouls or whatever. It's
the
pretty close.
uh the other thing is that I think that some studios like, Nintendo's been super tight-fisted, but by letting the Mario Rabbids, games come out, those have been good holdovers. Like they made the Bowser's Fury expansion, but like other than that, we haven't seen a new Mario since Odyssey.
Yeah, which really sucks because a lot of people have said, and I think we talked about last week too, like if you're to release like another Mario Odyssey, does it come out at the end of the Switch life cycle and then it gets ported over to whatever the new console is as well?
Well, I
Or do you
mean,
just save it to the new console?
all the big Zelda titles, like I mean, even Twilight Princess was crossplay. I
Yeah.
remember because I went over to my friend's house and I didn't realize they were mirrored.
Yeah. Well, and we're at that point in the Switch life cycle too, where you kind of have to have new titles coming or a new console coming out. Like they just had Mortal Shell was ported over to the Switch and it's had like terrible issues with the console. Like
That's
it's
a
just
like 3-year-old game too, at
yeah.
least.
Yeah, and it's having issues on the Switch. So that kind of tells you where that console's at. But as far as, back to that discussion topic, like, Blue Point Games is actively doing things like the Demon Souls remake. They did the Shadow of Colossus remake, which is pretty good overall. So I think that there is something to say about third party studios taking on, even if it's just remakes,
Mm-hmm.
and having that contracted out. I think that's fantastic. Um, does it always happen? No. Will it always happen? No. And should it happen? Maybe. But, just back to my original point, I think gamers should just be patient. Just keep
Yeah.
playing. There's tons of games out there, um, to kind of hold you over. You could still enjoy like, Apex Legends. You could still enjoy Apex Legends 3 years ago to today. And it's the same. Like it's always growing, and there's always like new things being added to it. I do understand games like God of War are not necessarily going to be that same thing where you can add to it, but I guess Horizon might be a good example. Horizon's supposed to be adding multiplayer, you know
Yeah.
so
And
that
they're
right
also
there.
doing they're doing a multiplayer Last of Us too, aren't they?
I'm not sure, I didn't read about that one, but for sure Horizon is supposed to have multiplayer or already does. I don't know, I haven't really played that one yet, but that is something that tied you over.
I mean,
Metal Gear Solid did it years ago
that
too.
just came out with its sequel last year. So I mean, that's not too big. Like, I
But it
guess
still
this,
holds you over. It's a year
yeah.
later and they're adding multiplayer. You know, like,
And they're getting the VR game.
yep. So that's an example of different ways the studios can kind of give you a sampling of things until it builds up into the next, game, which I would anticipate Horizon will have a sequel, even though I haven't, Forbidden West will have a sequel, even though I haven't, played it.
Yeah.
Um, but I would imagine they're going to have more things tied to that world and build upon it. And, Sony's kind of going that direction anyways, when you consider what they're doing with like Destiny. They purchased Bungie specifically to have like that multimedia type of view, right, into gaming and expanding into different types of, medias with gaming. And so I can see them kind of going that direction, right? Like, let's kind of hold people over on our first party titles by adding, I'm just going to throw it out here, like trading card games or collectibles or anything along those lines, or multiplayer, or
NFTs.
oh god, so anything like that to kind of hold gamers over until the next version comes out. And of course that's where you have your things like remakes of remakes and remasters and all of that. So yeah,
Well,
cool.
good chatting.
Yeah, now let's get to the next big thing. And that is Google Stadia, or Stadia, however you want to pronounce it, is shutting down soon. So transfer your game saves while you can. This is Jay Peters at The Verge that talked about this one. I actually just shared this on Twitter. And, while Google is actively going to be giving refunds for software and hardware purchases that are tied to Stadia, I think it's just kind of a red flag, right, for gamers, and that continue to support physical media, because stuff like this, not every company is going to take a step back and say, you know what, we're going to refund everybody for the hardware they purchased, and we're going to refund everybody for the software that they purchased. And then other developers are going to say, oh, you can move your save transfer data to PC or PS5. Oh, you want to have a free copy of this game that you purchased on Stadia and continue playing it over on PC or PS5? Here it is. Like, here's the code to do so. No, not everyone's going to do that down the road.
Yeah.
And so I think this should honestly be a warning to gamers everywhere that digital is maybe not the best way to go. And if you want to continue to own your physical media and continue to play that down the road, should anything happen from a server perspective or anything along those lines, probably best that you continue to support physical. And I did see another report recently that said that, like, physical media was or digital media outsold physical media by like 75%. But the one thing that wasn't factored in there or called out specifically was things like the PlayStation Plus games or the Nintendo games that are given out on a monthly basis, because those technically count as purchases. So if you were to go on PlayStation Plus and download your 3 games for free, those 3 games technically go into your cart and are technically added as a purchase in your email when you're all said and done, and are also added as purchases within your overall PlayStation games. So I do kind of question that statistic on physical media being beat out by digital media that badly.
I think it probably balances out though, because like, are they double counting your Game Pass and PS Now subscription services? Because like, technically they're not free games. Like, you are paying for those. You just get access to them.
I think they are counting
monthly.
those as like purchase games. I think they are, because there's no way that it beats it out that badly. And the other thing to consider is
I don't know, man. I think it's just honestly like, we're just old school in that mentality, because I was actually looking up that like thing as you started mentioning it, because I had just seen that earlier this week too. And I just think that maybe it's an older world mentality and we just don't like see through it. Like, the amount of people that were there waiting to get Pokemon with me at launch, I mean, it was all people like that were older. Like,
but
there was nobody there with their kid.
But I
Those
do
kids probably just
question.
downloaded it.
Yeah, but how much of that is related to the fact that how pre-orders are done nowadays? And, do you honestly need to go grab a game at midnight to play it? Like, and then
Oh
sit
no,
back and
this
download it?
was like launched in the morning. Like, I just think that like kids are going to get those like, oh, you pre-order and you get this. Like, kids are so instantaneous, they're probably just buying stuff through digital means as opposed to going to the store more often, I would assume, especially because like, I mean, when we were kids, we didn't have that option. Like, we were born to go to the store because you got that birthday money and you're like, okay, I've got the money, let's go to the store. Whereas now you get a gift card most of the time, probably, and then you go on and you just buy it.
Yeah, no, I get it. The one thing though is like it's not necessarily counting in here used video games either, and you got to
No,
consider how
well,
many of those
that
are
doesn't
sold.
count as
Yeah,
sales.
I get it. Yeah, it doesn't count as like their sales, but you know, a lot of people do wait. They don't buy it digital; they buy physical but used. So
Hmm.
there's things to consider there. As far as like releases, Pokemon was released I think on a weekday in the middle of the school year. So odds are when you went to pick it up in the morning, yeah, it's people like us who have the day off and they can go get it. Those kids are coming at 4 o'clock to get that game. Like that's the prime time. And that's when I would pick up games that I had on
Yeah, that's
pre-order.
true.
I'd get them at 4 o'clock because I had school. Unless it was summertime or winter break or whatever it may be, I wasn't
Yeah.
picking up my games middle of the day or morning. I didn't even do midnight launches when I was a kid because, well, it was midnight on a weekday oftentimes to go get that game. There was no point. And I wasn't going to play it that night. So I honestly never did a midnight launch when I was
Really? Oh,
younger.
dude, midnight
Never.
launches were the thing, man.
I heard, but it's just not something I was ever interested in. Like, I just didn't see the appeal in going to grab a game at midnight, like literally getting into the door at midnight, not getting home till 1 o'clock in the morning, only to boot up my game and maybe play for 30 minutes and go to sleep and then play it the next morning. I just didn't see the appeal in that. Like, I'd rather just go in the afternoon, eat my breakfast, go grab my thing, go to the store, shop around, and then go home and play. Like that to me was more appealing. But I mean, to each your own. So overall, Stadia though, it's supposed January 18th is the final day. So if you are playing on that, this is your warning that you can move your saves for some games, not all games, over to other areas before those servers shut down. And the date is January 18th.
Yeah,
So
so
it'll
check it
be,
out. They kind
yeah,
of highlight Cyberpunk, Destiny, Hitman, Elder Scrolls Online, and Ubisoft games as some to
yeah,
check out. I mean, it could depend on the individual developer or whatever, but I'm sure you can find out more if you're still playing on Stadia at this point. I mean, I don't know, man. Figure it out. You're
yeah,
on there and interacting it with it more than we are.
yep. I do wonder what happens. I don't know if they've already discussed what happens to the first party studios that they had through Google. I
Oh,
wonder
that
if
was
those.
gone like before this even
Yeah,
happened.
yeah, no, but I'm wondering, like, did they get sold off? I can't remember.
I don't know, man. I think they just shuttered them
Hmm. I would be
because they
interested to see
didn't
if they.
have any IP or anything to go
Yeah, they
with
did.
them.
They had several IPs.
I mean, nothing that sold,
Well, yeah,
nothing that was worth buying.
well,
Like, you might as well just let that studio close and then hire their employees after the fact. Like,
that's because the whole thing was a flop. So I
yeah,
mean, yeah, okay.
I don't think there was anything really worth paying for.
I mean, there's a few things I had my eye on. I can't remember offhand, but it worthwhile for other studios to potentially pick it up. All right. So pay more to play. Why video game prices could rise in 2023. This is Rebecca Valentine of IGN. So you and I have talked about this in the past. So honestly, probably a couple of years ago, but inflation rates, the way they are today, games should honestly be like 90 plus to $100 right now
Oh,
for
and if
video
you look
games.
back at old prices for like Super Nintendo games and stuff, like they were all different kinds of prices for the games, and many
Uh
of
huh.
them very expensive.
Yeah, I remember paying like 50 something bucks for a game back then. But when you consider the average price is about 45 bucks, the Super Nintendo is about 145. In today's dollars, it's like 435 for a Super Nintendo game and about 90 bucks. Or I mean, sorry, 435 for Super Nintendo console and about $90 for a game itself. Honestly, when you kind of consider things like microtransactions and loot boxes and all that, that's the reason I think that game prices have been able to stay so low and competitive
Yeah,
compared to other forms of media. It's because other people are footing the bill and paying for all of these like enhancements or games that may not be necessary. So while I am against loot boxes and the whole predatory concept of that, and I am for enhancements to your game if you want to purchase additional things like DLC or like a tire or whatever it may be, but it's not gambling. Thank you to those people because you have kept game prices as low as they've been for a number of years. And even in today, when you look at gas prices and food prices and everything else that's tied to it, and inflation globally, you'd think game prices would be going up right now amongst like chip shortages and manufacturing issues and distribution and everything else tied to it. Like game prices should have gone up more than just $70, but they've continued to stay at that price point. And there's even titles that are still coming out today that are like $30, like indie games. Now, can we expect those to rise? I would think so. I can't see those staying at $30. And honestly, I can't even see used games down the road on like Amazon or like discounted games going down below $20 in the future, which there seems to be quite a bit, even on PS5, that are like less than $20. So I'd be interested to see where things kind of progress moving forward. I do anticipate, though, if it's not next year, it'll definitely be the next generation. We'll probably be seeing $80 video games.
Yeah. I mean, right now, they were saying that with the bump up to $70, that we're probably protected for a little bit from seeing that, just because everybody else who hasn't raised their rates yet, like they would be comfortable just sitting at that 70 and you'd be kind of on your own in an $80 island. But there was a lot of other stuff in this article that I found really interesting that I hadn't thought of exactly. Because like when you hear rising costs of games, like that sucks, and nobody wants to give these big giant studios more money so that it can go straight to the CEO's pocket, because we know that's where a lot of that profit goes. I
Mm-hmm.
would say that the thing that I was kind of shocked to see is like, you know what, I never really thought about how competitively, indie games have to price themselves, because like, that developer might see themselves as like, if we charge more than $5, we're not going to sell enough of our game and it just won't make sense. But, driving up the prices for games does allow those indie developers to charge more and potentially be able to see some much better returns. Like the difference it could make for an indie studio to be able to charge, $10 to $20 instead of $5 to $10 would be huge. That could secure them what they need to make their next title and, really start up and keep going. So I would hope that, if we do see a rise in games, more of it would go towards the actual games and the actual people working on the games, which is not how the AAA space works. But that kind of trickle down, could see some positives. And I think that with all the free alternatives out there, like if you're going to be buying games, yes, they are a luxury, item. Um, it sucks to have to pay more. I don't want to pay more. I don't think anybody wants to, but it's kind of the reality of it. Things are just getting more expensive. Like I jumped in and I got the Quest 2 before it made the $50 price bump. I got my Xbox Series S already. If that gets a $50 price bump, like I'm good on that. I've been waiting for the PS5 Slim to come out, because usually the Slim model is cheaper and more efficient and, smaller and looks better. So
Well,
hopefully they get
PS5,
all that stuff down. But like, is it going to be actually cheaper now? Who knows?
well, it went up on a global basis. Like the US was kind of spared from that, but the
Yeah.
PS5 did increase in price a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, there is that. So, as much as I'm not a big fan of digital media, with these digital releases, I do think it is helping kind of keep the price of physical games down, though, because they're able to turn, I think, a little more money by having a digital release versus the physical release and the shipping and plastics and everything else that are tied to that. And also obviously like having to work with retailers and whatever their cut of the cost is compared to just getting the digital media directly, in terms of the revenue that's generated. Um, I do think digital has kind of helped keep things at bay, price wise, but it does bug me at times too when you see these increases for physical media and then you also see the same increase on digital media. So like a $70 game physically should not cost $70 digitally. Like it,
Yeah.
I always think it should be a little lower. And if they're trying to truly get rid of physical media and make it more
That
profitable,
would be an incentive.
it would be an incentive, right? Like, hey, let's make it $55 if you want to purchase, or even $60 if you want to purchase this game digitally, but it's $70 if you want it physically.
Then
Like,
that would be the real test. That would tell everybody, like, okay, are people willing to pay this or not?
yeah, I would think so. And honestly, they may start doing that. Who knows? Maybe they do increase to like $80, but it's only for physical media that goes up to $80.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Well, and right now that isn't so outrageous, I guess, because a lot of the times if you're buying physical, people are wanting more with their physical. So maybe you get rid of standard editions altogether and you just release, collectors and special editions and bundles and stuff like that. So like people can still get those big time titles that they want, but maybe you put less uh, you know, product development into just having shelves full of them and only make as many as you think you're realistically going to sell. And you've got the mega tier, you've got the one that just comes with the steel book and the one that comes with the console or whatever.
Yeah. Well, time will tell. We'll see
Time
what
will
happens.
tell.
All right. Our next thing here is Final Fantasy VII, the original, is about to become fully voice acted, and it's PC Games N, and it's Ed Smith that wrote
This
this
is
one.
bizarre.
How so?
So Final Fantasy VII has been around for a long ass time.
Yeah.
Like, this is going to be a release of a mod for PC that's going to be fully voice acted. Like,
And they're doing it for Final Fantasy 8 and 9 as well down the road.
Yeah, for me, it just seems like that ship has sailed. Like, unless they do it really well, which I mean, I'm sure they're going to do the best that they can. They said that they got like actual voice talent. I didn't see any names or anything to be in it, or at least train people. It's not just like the people who are doing the mod recording it themselves, because then it probably wouldn't really be very newsworthy, because that's probably been attempted before.
Yeah.
But like, for me, I just don't see who this is going to be really for. Like, it might make it a novel revisit, but are you going to go back on subsequent playthroughs and replay it on your PC just so that you can hear the voice pack again? Like, if there was some kid who played Final Fantasy VII for the first time on PC with this voice pack, could that become like a nostalgic memory for them and be the way they remember Final Fantasy VII moving forward? Maybe, but I don't think this is going to be a big deal for a lot of people, and I'm really wondering like how many people are going to play through the whole game or really interact with this a lot.
I mean, I kind of think I might want to. Like, I haven't beat Final Fantasy 9. So Final Fantasy 9 is one, and I know some people are going to skewer me for saying that, but
I
it's,
haven't either.
well, I mean, it might be expected. Me, not necessarily. So yeah, Final Fantasy 9 is one that I didn't get to experience, and if it was voiced, I would probably enjoy that far more, than hearing Zidane and Vivi and all these other characters like with just text. So I think it would be a lot of fun to play it in that way. And I think there's younger kids like, I have a son, and 8 years from now or whatever, 7 years from now, he may be playing some Final Fantasy, and maybe he is playing the original 7 and he's playing it on PC. And now he gets to experience that for the first time of voice acting, versus when I played it, didn't have it. So I don't think this is necessarily for us. I think it's for the next generation.
Yeah.
Or the prior generations not, I guess, next generations like Z and whatever else that's out there.
Like,
That's what I see.
I expect certain things to have voice acting. Like, I was definitely disappointed in the moments of not having any voice acting in Pokemon Violet. Like, it's definitely like, man,
Yeah.
that would have been a good moment to have some voice acting in. But looking back at like old titles like that, like, I don't expect old RPGs to be voiced. It's just not something that was really done for the most part. Like, I know that there were some like exceptional games that had a ton of voice acting on the PS1, but it's not that it would be off-putting. It's just like
It's just why.
I would know, I would never go back and do it.
Yeah.
I guess I'm just looking through my own lens in that.
I get it.
I'm sure there's people who replay Final Fantasy VII once a year, and this would give them a new reason to go back again. So more power to you. I just don't know if it's going to catch on.
It's not like it's Square putting forth effort to voice this, right? It's a special team that's gathering people up to do voice work and put it into a mod. Like
And maybe
it'd
it
be
really is good.
yeah, maybe it does. It'd be one thing if Square was like, we're going to go back and we're going to put voice acting in all of these old games that you have loved and enjoyed for so many years so we could resell it to you. Like it's totally different. It's just it's a group out there that is modding games on PC and throwing voice acting in so you can enjoy it at your leisure. And, I would imagine they're going to be selling their mod or doing something with it to be able to add it. But I'd rather that than Square try to push that versus working on the next Final Fantasy. That's just my view on that. Like, I'd rather those developers, and I've talked about before, I'd rather those developers and studios focus on new IPs and continuing to work on things that we've been previewed versus going back and looking at old crap and putting voicing or remastering or redoing all these titles. Like, focus on new stuff. So yeah, I'm happy that somebody's doing this because it's going to be there. It's going to be available, but we can look forward to new games coming from Square because somebody else is doing the heavy lifting.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, talking about a game that should not exist, Lemmings 3D, developed by Clockwork Games. It was published by Cynosis, which I think we've done another Cynosis game, and
Yeah,
I
I was
that it
thinking that
also
too.
bad. November of 1995. It was a puzzle type game. Reception was an 8 out of 10. Now, I could see why this game would get an 8 out of 10. What annoys the hell out of me about this game is the user interface in the beginning, and really just user interface in general. I believe this game, if I'm correct, was a PC game as well. And so I could totally see where this would be.
DOS, PlayStation, and Saturn.
Okay. Well, what the hell's DOS? Is it PC?
Yeah, like DOS interface.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not super familiar with it. That shows my age, right?
It's like before PC. There was DOS.
Because I think
And
Lemmings is also on Atari as well.
I looked up the Cynosis.
Yeah.
Shadow Master and Discworld.
I knew it.
Cynosis.
Okay, so they did good on Discworld, but Shadow Master clearly that's where it went downhill, and then Lemmings, of course, I think came after. I don't know. Maybe Shadow Master came. Maybe this is what set them off the edge to create Shadow Master. Such a terrible game. All right. So either way, it's a puzzle game. You basically have your little Lemmings. It's a iteration on prior Lemmings games where this is 3D instead, and you can kind of maneuver around like these different maps. So basically, you have stages as you normally would in games like this, and each stage has its own puzzle that you're supposed to help direct your Lemmings to do certain things. So some Lemmings can skate on like ice areas. They can bounce on targets. They can blow up. They can tell other Lemmings to turn left, turn right, and do certain things. So the first stage, for example, you have like this, looks like almost a diving board type setup where they continue to go up and up and up. And you have like 4 different platforms, and there's an end goal where Lemmings are supposed to bounce. And so, or bounce into. And so you direct one Lemmings to say, go left, go right, do whatever. And those Lemmings will progress and do exactly that. My issue is if I told my Lemmings go left, and then I was trying to tell that Lemming to change direction of where I wanted things to go, it wouldn't let me do it. And then also, I don't know if you struggled at first too, but that like the main screen where you have to decide like different options, I didn't realize like because there's one bar.
Oh, you didn't realize it was play and practice, and then you had to go to practice and turn the difficulty up there. Yeah, I didn't either.
Yeah,
I was like, I'm hitting play, but it's all practice.
Yeah, and so that's the issue I had, and the main reason is like you just hear like the Lemmings go practice, play. Like that's it. Like that's all you hear. I'm like, what the hell's going on? And like practice was its own thing, and then play was its own thing. And then you had that difficulty thing. And then you had options. You had memory card. I didn't figure it out till I went through like 3 or 4 practice sessions. And I was figuring out what the hell to do in practice sessions and how to end them. That's what kind of got me. And on the bottom, what's the confusing part is as you're pressing like left and right and trying to figure out the main screen, the bottom has sponsors on a strip.
Yeah.
And so that's moving on its own. And I'm like, oh, okay. It's like a film reel. Like it's continuing. I'm like, okay, hit X. And then, okay, go back to main menu. I kept getting stuck in practice mode. It was just so confusing. So by the time I figured out I got to stage 1, my 30 minutes was almost up, but I played enough practice mode to get a feel for the game, right? And what it entails. So I could totally see why this would be like an 8 out of 10 type of game. Like, it's not terrible by all means. Even though
It's
I don't
Lemmings
think this
in
should exist.
3D. It's
Yeah,
just not that exciting.
yeah, it really
Like
is.
at the time, I guess, like with the original Lemmings puzzles, like maybe, you know, 2D has its barriers. Like there's only so much you can really do. Like I could see how adding 3D, you know, you've got like turn people and more stuff that you can interact with, and you can really make things more elaborate. But I mean, I only did the first two puzzles, three puzzles, something like that. I did
Yeah.
like one of the practice things before I kind of figured out how to turn it up to fun and then actually play the game.
Hmm.
And I wanted to do at least a couple levels, but like uh, it's I guess the fun really comes down to learning how to execute on the puzzle and then being able to execute within like the parameters. So, you know, it doesn't just give you unlimited lemmings. Like you only have so many to work with. So you need to be able to do the solution and keep enough lemmings alive to survive and complete the puzzle. But one stupid thing is like after you beat the puzzle, you still have to like blow up the lemmings that are still on the screen to end the level. Like it doesn't just end once you meet the goal.
Yeah, I
So I
noticed
didn't
that.
realize that at first. And the whole like the whole screen for this game is very bizarre. So you've got like the screen where all the information is, you know, you're watching the game happen. And then on the right hand side, there's like two columns and like a scroll bar. And you use R1 as basically like right mouse, and you go over and you can like scroll up and down the scroll bar. You can click on the buttons there to like rotate the camera like 15 degrees to the right or left or whatever. You can blow up your lemmings, you can pause your lemmings, but I don't know that you can like just click on the different lemming icons at the bottom. Like I think to change between what you're going to activate your lemming to do, like you have to use the L2 R2. Like I don't really try clicking on them, but like there's just like information on the screen that's like there for you to look at, and then there's other things that are there as actual interactable icons, and it doesn't give you a lot of feedback as to which is which or why. So like instead of being able to just like do something, your face buttons would like pan left or right or like move in or out the camera. And it's like I kind of would have I don't know. It just seems like a bizarre game. It seems like a weird adaptation to make from 2D to 3D.
It's also not
And
something that I like on the PlayStation. Like, I think this type of game honestly should just stayed on PC.
it's not like Worms 3D. Like Worms 3D is really good. I like that on like GameCube or something.
Yeah, this just it wasn't terrible. It just I don't think it belongs on this console.
Yeah.
And I can see where
Is there a
people would.
PlayStation mouse?
I believe there is. I don't remember. Probably. I mean, there's
Maybe
so
this
many.
is way better with a mouse.
Maybe. Yeah, I think there is actually. I don't remember. You can look it up real quick. We have Google at our fingertips.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I want to say there is though. I don't think there's a keyboard though, but I know like
Yeah, there is
you
a
know.
PlayStation mouse.
Yeah, I thought so. Um, yeah. So maybe it is better with a mouse interface because you do have that kind of point and click aspect of it. I just honestly I just don't think it belongs on the console though. Like unless you're going to sit there with the PlayStation mouse and play, which that's assuming that it's compatible with the Lemmings 3D game. Um, I just didn't think it was worth it.
Yeah.
Now I will say, brass tax wise, complete in box $17, peaked at $35 in September of last year. Well, 2021, not 2022. And it's at a holding pace right now. Loose will run you $9.08. Peaked at $18.87 in August of 2017. That's also holding in place. And then, as you said, abandonware, so it is free online if you want to play this on like PC.
That's the
You know,
route to go, honestly. Like
Yeah.
This has got to be so much better. Like, I don't know if there's going to be compatibility issues with like something that old trying to run it on a modern PC, but like, man, there's a reason this game is not worth much.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a long box copy you could probably sell for $30 still right now. I don't know if there's a a jewel disc version of this, or jewel case version, I should say. But a loose copy running under $10. Here's the deal. Like, is it a terrible, terrible game? Not really. Should it exist on PlayStation 1? Probably not. Is it worth like $9? I mean, could be. If that's
you're a
your
big fan of Lemmings, I
and
mean,
puzzles,
it's
if you like
worth
puzzle
checking
games,
out for $10.
yeah, I think at puzzle games, it's not bad at all.
I don't know. If you're into puzzle games, I'm sure you could get much better puzzle games for $10
Yeah, but
nowadays.
yeah, you can, but it's just, if you're looking for another type of puzzle game to play, this might be worth it. I don't know. Like, this was tough for me. Like, I want to say $5, but at the same time, like, I don't think, like, complete in box at $17, I don't think it's worth it, to be honest.
Definitely
I would
inflated at least.
Yeah, I would think inflated in that respect. If you're looking at it from a loose disc perspective, $10 might be okay if you're just wanting to get that, experience. So, yeah. All right. So inflated on complete in box.
Inflated.
All right. So I think we're doing probably another PlayStation 1 game, maybe Super Nintendo or Nintendo next week. We'll have to look at what we got. And we'll play that through another virtual recording, and then D&D on the 22nd, and an interview actually that we'll be doing. So that's currently scheduled. Not going to say who it is, just in case things change and we gotta get a few things done. But we're hopefully going to be interviewing a voice actor who is in some current gen games, which will be pretty cool. So somebody I met a while back, and we'll chat with them. But if not, it'll be a normal scheduled episode at that point. So we'll get it all figured out. Well, this has been episode 217 of the Game Deflators Podcast. My name's John.
I'm Ryan.
And thanks for listening.